All right, so here we are. I'm super stoked about this. We're going to be talking about rhythm, and I want to read a definition that I thought was pretty awesome. Okay, so I have two definitions that I picked up. Rhythm is a strong, regular, repeated pattern of sounds, movements, or events. This is what your life is made up of. Okay. The other one, which is lengthier, and I love the way that this thing's worded. So precise. Rhythm is the pattern of movement, timing, and balance that creates flow and stability in life. It is the structured repetition of actions, pauses, and cycles that keep energy, relationships, and work sustainable and aligned. Wow. Like, is there anything missing from this? It's so good. Okay. And then there's a little bit of a breakdown on here. Tempo is pace, so the speed at which your life is moving. The beats or the events of your life. Flow is how we're going to define the transitions from one activity to another. We're gonna get into the flow from moving from vacation to work to dating to whatever it is, spending one-on-one time with your kids. Then we're going to talk about balance, where all of the and when I say we're going to talk about balance, eventually we're going to talk about balance for sure. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about on Thursday with Marty Miller, whom I'm super stoked to talk with. He's another buddy of mine that we go back a ways, and him and I just vibe, and we'll sit down over a boat of sushi and have all kinds of awesome conversations. And he's one of my handful of friends that I meet just to meet with, just to have conversations with, talk about life. Balance, alignment, a lot of this stuff, rhythm. When we talk about harmony and these sorts of things, we're talking about a group of people. Could be your family, could be your business, could be your church. It could be a group of people that you meet with, your softball team, for crying out loud. It could be anything. And developing that harmony where you know where the other people are going to be without having to look, because you know each other well. This requires everybody to be on the same page. This is going to require, in the life of a man who wants to lead his home, this is going to require really great communication. And to be honest, I'm loving that we're diving into this, because we're going to be able to dispel some myths, and we're going to be able to have some really great conversations about men and their homes and their family and at work, and just all of the things that a big reason for this podcast is because there's a lot of people that a day comes and they realize early on that they have no idea what they're doing. They get out of high school, they get out of college, they start down this adventure of having a family, and they realize, oh my gosh, I was completely unprepared for this. Okay, that's part of what this is about. It's about developing men from not being prepared to, if I can help you out to make some gains, to increase the amount of and the quality of the communication between you and your kids and God, and I can participate in all of this, then I've succeeded. Then that'll be my win, my contribution. Okay. Okay. Some of the other things that that I know eventually we're going to talk about. Okay. If you have harmony without alignment, you will have a group of people that would love to do stuff together, but they can't quite figure out how to get their schedules together. They're out of alignment. They want to do stuff together. They just can't seem to get everything so that they can meet at the same time. They're saying yes to things that they should be saying no to. Their priorities are a little wonked up. In some of this, I was also thinking about if you've ever been to a prayer meeting that was really powerful, where you saw people's lives changed. There was a lot of harmony. In the book of Acts, you'll find that when they were in one accord, that's there on purpose. When they were there and they were all in the same direction and they were all like dialed in the same way for the same purpose, that is when the Spirit of God came. So some of this video is going to be a little bit of top of mind, me thinking out loud and having a discussion that way. If you've ever seen the video of Galloping Gertie, I'll probably place it on top right here. Galloping Gertie was a bridge that was over the Tacoma Narrows, and in the 40s, there was a 35-mile-an-hour wind, just the right amount of wind to vibrate that bridge so that it got completely out of control, right? It got in the right rhythm with that bridge and tore it apart. There was a bridge in London that did something, except it didn't come apart. If you look up the London Memorial Bridge, you'll find videos of this thing sliding around with a whole bunch of people on it. I was reading about bridges where, I didn't know this until just a little bit ago, that in the military, they will get everybody stepping out of sync so when they're crossing bridges so that they don't damage the bridge, because a whole bunch of people walking in sync, stomp, 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 will cause a bridge to be damaged. A couple of quotes that I'm going to be throwing at Marty. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." Stephen Covey said, "The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities." If you don't decide your rhythms, life will decide them for you. And that is John Mark Comer. I think that may have come from the book, what was it? It was, I'll put the text over. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. It's a great book. I'm wanting to talk to Marty about what he would tell his kids, because he's got two boys. He's got two boys and a daughter, but this podcast is really about sons. So what would you tell your sons to do to be more intentional with your wife? What would you tell your sons to do to be more intentional for church, for your spiritual life, for your spiritual habits? What would you tell your sons to do that would make it so that physically they would be healthier as a habit? We can forget that we learned them, and we can unlearn them, and we can pick up new habits. One of the examples that I use with respect to when I'm talking to people and talking to them about doing sales scripts, because lots of people don't like doing sales scripts. It feels unnatural. They want to be all natural and authentic and whatever in the world that is, rather than being helpful. Being helpful is what happens when you have a good quality sales script and you learn how to do it. It feels super clunky at first, but after a while, you can look somebody dead in the eye and you can say that thing that you've been practicing, and nobody will recognize it as a script. It will just come across as the most magical piece of communication in the world because you practiced it, you know it, and the people listening will feel it, will feel that authenticity. You've probably been typing, first got your hands on a keyboard at the age of like 10 or 12 or something like that. Can you imagine if just the A and the T were swapped? you would struggle and struggle and struggle because you're used to them being in this location and that location. Now, if you did that to a 10 or a 12-year-old, they would get frustrated and annoyed, but they would figure it out quickly. My point is that the younger that you are when you can adopt good habits, the better they're going to be, and the easier your life is going to be. Developing good intentional habits are the things that make life great, or they make life where you get to a place where you feel helpless and you feel sad because of that helplessness. There was a woman that called me on the phone to order up some shirts at my shop here. And normally when I get a phone call from out of town, I don't answer it, especially if it says New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't sell shirts to somebody halfway across the country. It's always somebody trying to sell me some kind of service. But my wife and I just got back from New Orleans, and I just wanted to hear a little of that New Orleans accent. So I pick up the phone, or I answer the phone, and it is the most California accent I've ever heard in my life, right? It's just West Coast, 100%. She schedules an appointment, comes in, and we're talking, and as we're wrapping up, I say, hey, why do you have a New Orleans phone number? I mean, you obviously aren't from there. She goes, oh, no, born and raised. She goes, I lived most of my life there. I said, you've got no accent. She goes, oh, she kind of smiles a little. She goes, when I was a kid, I had a speech impediment, and my parents took me to a speech therapist. The speech therapist taught me to speak like a Californian. And I thought that was such a great example of the ability to change and modify. Can you imagine how frustrating that would have been? Not only does she have a speech impediment, but she's being taught to speak like somebody that she has no model of, except for maybe on TV. Very frustrating, a lot of work. But in the end, she's got this way of speaking where she can easily communicate. Clunky, clunky, clunky. Less clunky, less clunky. A little less clunky. All of a sudden you're feeling some momentum. You're feeling it. Now she can communicate. She's got it figured out. That's a rhythm in itself. It's also about the younger you are when you develop the really good habits, the rhythms, and you get the proper things in place and the proper sequence with the proper priorities, and you learn how to get everybody on the same boat, rowing the same way. If you've ever seen dragon boats, they all row the same way, and there's some dude pounding a drum at the front of the thing. All of this stuff is super important if you're going to get the benefits of rhythm. Okay? So that's where I'm at. This is an adventure for me too. I'm excited about diving in and having a conversation with Marty and then with Toby. And I hope that you will be along for the trip. I will catch you later. I'll see you in a couple days. This will be the end of part 1. Bye-bye.